got a guy like that that's built like that, the 6'4", that you got to transcend like that.
They got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back in the middle. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something in this offensive line to combat that. Friday night, if they could at least give us like college football Friday night, man, something like give us that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday combo. But the Friday thing is cool. Like we get that Black Friday game this year, and that just might be a step in that direction for us.
I think that'll open some things up for real. I think that's the numbers.
The only thing I don't like about too many Thursday games and even like a Friday game is the players aren't going to get the rest they need on the front end, and they should try to like work your bye week around that better. I feel like.
Right, and that's the thing about the flex. Like I thought about it, I was like, it's kind of like a huge disservice to the fans. If they booking a flight, they thinking they going Thursday, you change it to Sunday.
Right.
You never know how that plays out, and then even for the players, like if you get off Sunday, you think, oh, I got a week to rest up, and then hey, now you got to play Thursday now. So I'm interested in seeing how it's going to go. I'm not sure everybody's going to be in favor of that though. So they're going to roll it out. And speaking of rolling out, you see the new kickoff rule come out. And it took me a minute to kind of just digest what was going on. I'm like, all right, you fair catch it, it automatically goes to the 25-yard line, and I'm just thinking about it like, I don't like it. Honestly, it didn't really take me too much thought to put into it. Where I just think, I understand as far as the league aspect go, as far as like trying to cut down the concussions and things like that. But I think it takes away from the game. It's something I love, being able to pin the team down deep. It kind of just adds like a different advantage, especially for your punter. You know what I mean? Like it just changes the game up a little bit, especially for teams that like to pin teams down and rely on your defense and kind of switch the game, change the momentum up. But if everybody can just fair catch the ball, go to the 25-yard line, it's like, what the heck, man?
No, it doesn't make sense. And like you said, I get it for player safety, but pretty much like it does take away from the punters, because that's kind of what shows us who the best punter in the league is. And I also feel like that kind of takes away from those like potential practice squad players that are just special teams guys, that aspect of the game is so important. And really, this is probably a move to put more points on the board.
I mean, as we all know,
make the game more exciting. And then, like you still like if the punter punts it out at like the 5, like, so really it just puts more work on the punter, because you can't just kick in the middle of the field at the 5 and hope for the fair catch anymore.
But hey, if you got a good defense, it shouldn't matter. If your defense is trash now, listen, if you got a defense out there, it's hard to stop somebody, then you might be in trouble, man. Because, you putting a guy, Pat Mahomes, at the 25-yard line, you ain't never got to worry about him having to be pinned deep. You might be in trouble. You know what I mean? But speaking of top 5 offenses, top 5 defenses, man, I definitely was thinking about it, right? And one thing that popped to my mind was, how many teams in this league, in the NFL period, has the potential to have a top 5 offense, top 5 defense? Last year, off the bat, first team I thought about was Philly, and I think that's what I thought about. Like, you got Philly, and obviously Dallas. This was a team that was ranked top 5 on both sides of the ball. But is there anybody else out there this year? And potentially who can move up into that ranking if it was anybody you could think of?
Off the top of my head, I think you get Aaron Rodgers over in New York, and you get Quinnen Williams under contract. You go and get a pass rusher and Will McDonald in the first round of the draft. Defense healthier, Sauce Gardner coming into year 2, so I think less turnovers on offense will give you a better defense. But at the same time, I still don't know, like, is Robert Saleh the right coach for that team?
True. I mean, we'll find out sure enough. But I mean, he does got his guy in there. It's offense coordinator. Got some familiarity in there. But one thing Saleh knows is defense. So maybe that allows him to focus on the defensive side. And then maybe Aaron Rodgers himself, he's a guy that just kind of just runs the offense himself anyway. So maybe he'll take care of that. And then you do have a potential for, a top 5 offense, top 5 defense. Another team that just popped off to me and just kind of just thought about it right there. I was like, the Buffalo Bills, of course, you get a Von Miller back this year. Josh Allen, those weapons. Hopefully they have a stronger run game this year. But that's another team. But it just to think about it, like, can you count more than 5 teams you would think in a league that has the potential to have both?
Another potential I would say would be San Francisco.
Of course. Yeah.
You got Bosa. That's a good team. Drake Jackson in year 2. But they did lose their defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach in Houston. So how big of an impact will that have on that team? Similarly with Philadelphia, they lose their offensive and defensive coordinator. How big of an impact will that have? Yes, they got another monster in the draft on the defensive line, but at the same time, like
How does that
they
affect for sure?
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, what are you thinking as far as these rookies from last year and how big of a leap they'll make in year two?
You know, thinking about the rookies, right? We had some ones that bought out last year. If I could just think off the top of my head, I thought Kenneth Walker, especially the running backs, Brees Hall before he got hurt. I thought Garrett Wilson for sure. Just him not even having a quarterback play, Olave as well, and just to stick with those two guys, man. I think both. I think for one, the Jets are obviously getting Aaron Rodgers in there. We got to stick with the same team. It just goes to show you how much Aaron Rodgers will do for these players, that whole team and that franchise. So I think Garrett Wilson for sure will take a leap up. And then I'm also thinking Olave with a Derek Carr, finally getting some. It's not that Derek Carr's a star, but just getting a guy back there that can, read offense and get the ball where it needs to be. So I think he's another guy to take a step up. And thinking defensively, I would say I think Kayvon Thibodeau this year. I
Sure.
think finally, I think he was coming into his own in the middle of the season. Obviously, he got hurt, during the middle, but I think, he's a guy who flashed all the potential. We all knew what type of player he could be coming out. And I think this year with a full off season in front of him, not the year under that, Brian Dayball, team, I think he could take a huge leap this year.
I like that a lot. Definitely on my list, I got Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave written down. You get them a
Absolutely.
quarterback, and you saw what they did last year with no quarterbacks, pretty much. So that is exciting for those two. A couple other names like got Jordan Davis. You get Jalen Carter in there. You got a familiar face sitting
Of
next
course.
to him, and then Fletcher Cox, the veteran there, kind of mentor those boys. And I think that could become a really scary combo up front for Philadelphia. And then my other one, and it's probably not one. It's definitely not an exciting pick. Cole Strange. I think
Hmm. Okay.
last year with
Yeah.
New England, it was kind of a mess offensively when you had Matt Patricia, Joe Judge in there doing jobs that they really weren't qualified for. But this year you get Bill O'Brien in there, and Ramondre Steven now has the backfield to himself. So I think Cole Strange will fit in, a little more comfortably coming up this season.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's definitely on the radar pick. And I got one sleeper for you.
Talk to me.
And it's crazy because I named one player from the division, and when I thought about it, I would have to say Brian Robinson, man. I seen what he was able to do in the preseason. And some guys just pop off the tape, and he was popping. You know what I mean? I was watching, I was like, this guy has some juice. He got something to him for sure. Then obviously, unfortunate situation. We all know what happened. He came back, clearly sooner than I expected. He came back and he still was serviceable, and it seemed like he was getting stronger and stronger and stronger as the year went on. And I think this is a team that want to run the ball. Run first team over there, and I think give him a full offseason, another year getting that knee healthy. I think Brian Robinson could take a huge leap this year as well, man. So, yeah, like two guys off the bat, but I definitely, I'm kind of rooting for him, but I'm not, if that makes sense.
Of course.
I love the underdog story. I love somebody that's kind of, got all our odds against them, and just kind of just fighting through everything like that. So it's a story that I'd definitely be following along with.
I like that. Sticking to Washington, man, it's coming up soon. There's a lot of coaches sitting around here that probably on the hot seat, that haven't really lived up to expectations. So right off the bat, a coach that I think is on the hot seat would have to be Ron Rivera. You know,
For sure.
New ownership coming into town, and he's really not that winning of a coach, especially in the playoffs. Playoff record of 3-5, not the best, and two of those wins came in that Super Bowl run with Cam Newton. So he's won one playoff game since a Super Bowl appearance in 2015. Like,
He'll for sure be on the hot seat this year. And honestly, I thought he would be on the hot seat last year.
uh huh,
But one thing I think that's kept him around is just him being a culture guy and being able to try to change how they do things around there, cleaning up things. And they play hard for him. But
sure,
playing hard and being a player's coach sometimes is not all it takes. And I don't think he did himself any service, just kind of just backing up and not getting a quarterback this year. I think if you want to go out on your show, you should have went and got you a guy. But hey, if you want to, put all your eggs in the Sam Howell basket, be at it. But it's definitely been a tough task this year, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I definitely like that pick. And if I was to think of one, I would say Staley over there with the Chargers. You've had
for
a hell of
sure.
a roster. And I mean, if you was thinking about a previous segment with a team that we said, hey, top five to offense, top five defense. Well, this was supposed to be one of those teams last year. For sure. I thought that. And it just seems like, I mean, they have all the tools, but they never just work out. They always fall short in the most critical moments. And I think that's something that you can directly point at your coach. And I think, what I mean, for him, if you don't make the playoffs this year, you're in a tough division. I'm pretty sure they'll look elsewhere this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I'm the biggest Brandon Staley hater, and I still don't understand how he's got a job with LA. Actually, I do. It's because he's cheap, and they probably just don't want to spend big money on a coach. But yeah, he's on the hot seat. You kind of have wasted Justin Herbert's rookie contract, and you came over there as a defensive coach, and your defense is terrible. So that doesn't really make much sense to me. One more coach I kind of think could be on the hot seat is Bill Belichick. I think
Mm.
there's a chance that it's run its course
Huh?
in New England. And I don't think it would be
It's
like
a hot take,
Bill
man.
was fired. I think it could be like they agree to mutually part ways. You know what I mean? Like there's just like one day Tomlin's gonna have to leave and he probably won't be fired, but like eventually you have to go your separate ways.
Yeah, because you said something important there. I don't see Kraft coming to Bill and say, "Hey, Bill, you're fired." It's too much
Right.
respect there, and vice versa. I don't know how that'll go. It'll have to be a mutual conversation. I mean, with all the respect and all the things they've done in their franchise, I think that would definitely have to be the case. But that's a hot take. You know what I mean? But listen, since Brady has left, they've played good ball, but they haven't been the best drafting team and quarterback play. It shows you quarterback play matters. You know what I
Right.
mean? You lose your guy, and that's kind of the engine of your team. You got to get that right. You know what I mean? But we'll see, man. That's definitely a hot take. If I could think about anybody else, I would say Allen over there in New Orleans. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I felt like he was a stopgap coach.
yeah.
I'm not sure if they wanted him to kind of be the guy that would take him to the next level, but more so be the guy to carry him over that bridge, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So now that they're kind of rebuilding that team, I don't know. It depends. Like if he kind of keeps them competitive this year, maybe he sticks around another year. But the minute they fall flat, you know what I mean? They one of the worst teams in the league. I think he get canned, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's canned halfway through the season. To be honest,
That's I like that take. My last one, Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin Stefanski has not lived up to expectations in Cleveland. Now, could this be his fault? Is maybe Deshaun Watson not the best quarterback anymore? Like, is he going to fall because of that, or can he just not get the most out of a Deshaun Watson? So, but either way, you're paying Deshaun Watson a lot more money than Kevin Stefanski, so that's an easy choice to make.
I will say this. A little off topic, but I think Sex, Deshaun Watson. I think he has a huge year this year.
Okay.
Obviously, with everything that went on, he didn't have an off season. He came back and they threw him to the fire. I think you would see a guy that was once a surefire top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he'll return. They got some weapons over there. Would that save his job? Who knows? If they're a terrible team, what I mean, I don't think Deshaun Watson would be the reason, but what I mean, they got pieces over there. There's no excuses, no
Right.
excuses at all, for sure.
No, and honestly, too, I do hope Deshaun turns it around this year. I think it would just make the NFL more exciting, especially if everybody gets the ball to 25.
That's true. They got the boys though.
Speaking of the playoffs, so who's in, who's out? Who's a team last year that didn't make the playoffs that you think can sneak in this year? Like a potential dark horse.
So I guess I could state the obvious, right? Detroit Lions. I felt like Detroit should have definitely they beat Packers. That final game, and they had a just wait and see, and they wasn't in control of their destiny. But I think this year, I think you got a team that's ready. Honestly, for me, I'm picking them to win a division. So Detroit. But if I was to pick a sleeper, which might surprise you, honestly, I think the Bears could possibly sneak in. What I mean, they was not a team that was very competitive. They lost a lot of games, but they was in all of these games. And I think, what I mean, I think they built the right way this offseason. The defense is not terrible. The offensive line needed work. They got Justin Fields some weapons. I'm just excited to see with him with a whole new cast over there, a whole new field what they can do. But I wouldn't be surprised if they was to make the playoffs. And if I was to go on the AFC side, I think the Miami Dolphins gonna Jalen Ramsey over there. Top five offense, of course. You got all the weapons. All they needed was to stop somebody in the most critical moments, and I think this is another team that man, definitely could sneak in.
So I like that a lot. And I'm going to stay in the AFC East. I also have the New York Jets on that list, which I think is kind of an obvious play.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do think this season the AFC East is very up for grabs. We saw Josh Allen last season kind of have some up and down play, and anything is possible in the NFL. Most teams are one quarterback away, and we get to see that with Aaron Rodgers. And I saw the other day that pretty much the year that Manning left the Colts and went to the Broncos, they won the Super Bowl. The
Yeah.
year that Brady left and went to Tampa Bay, they won the Super Bowl. Now you got Rodgers switching teams, so anything is possible. Like a lot of these teams have really good rosters, and the quarterback play just isn't there. Another sneaky team, and I think we're probably on the wrong side of this one here, is New Orleans. I think
Hmm.
New Orleans has an opportunity. I think they got a good defense. I really do. They're improving their quarterback. I'm not saying they're a quarterback away, but last year's quarterback play was terrible,
But
similar
you,
to the Jets.
but it's crazy when you said that question. That was another dark horse I thought about, but I was thinking two teams,
Mm-hmm.
so I could only name two from the NFC. But I love the idea of the Saints. The division is terrible, and one thing I can always say, and what we hang our hat on, like we think about the regular season, how much wins you get. I just say get there.
Yeah,
And you get there, and let's just see what happens. And I do think they get there. I think they're better than the Falcons. Obviously, the Bucks will take a step back. What I mean, I think they'll be there. And you got a team that's always had a strong defense. Jamal Williams with the Kamara addition. You got the weapons. Let's see what type of leap they could take. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints are a hard team to knock off this year, man. For real.
because and to make it even like better, I guess I think this is probably the best room of weapons that Derek Carr has had in his career as well.
No,
So, no,
no,
who
no.
you got?
Just last year, man. He had Wilder. You had the Russian leader and Jacobs. You had Henry Renfro, slot machine, Devontae Adams. You don't have, yeah. You got a nice young supporting cast, but no, I'm not making no excuses for Derek Carr. Derek Carr, he has been a very middling quarterback. He's had his highs,
Sure.
he had his lows, but I think we know who he is. But what I mean, but make no mistake about it. I think the Saints have some weapons, but I got to catch you right there.
No, I like it. I think Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, the ultimate chess piece with Taysom Hill. Like you said, Jamal Williams, Alvin Kamara, and then you also have the rookie Kendre Miller in there. And this is
Forgot about Kendrick Miller
probably
for
one of the
sure.
best offensive lines that he's had as well.
No,
So
no, no, that's no that has the potential to swing things. I
right.
agree. I agree with that. I agree.
So I don't know. Anything's possible. I mean, Derek could just suck it up this year. Maybe the
Yeah.
Raiders made the right move. Who do you think that made the playoffs last year will miss the playoffs this year?
Okay. Off the top of my head, man, I just got to thank the Giants, man. I think they had a very favorable schedule last year. I do think they're building in the right direction, but I don't think they're there yet. You know what I mean? I just feel like they'll take a step back. I don't think they're there yet, especially not with a Daniel Jones. So definitely a team. Matter of fact, I'm saying the Giants, but I wouldn't state the obvious again if I was just to say the Packers, right? They clearly not going to be there again this year. I don't want to just say without Jordan Love is going to be that terrible. They're going to be that bad, but they won't be a playoff team this year for sure.
That's fair.
On the AFC
No,
side is stacked though, stacked over
right.
there. So I can't really say.
The AFC side's tricky to me. The first team I would put in there would be Miami or New York, but those are kind of the obvious. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong side.
Who going?
Bring
Yeah,
it back.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
missed it? I think the AFC North. Baltimore made the playoffs and Cincinnati. So, in my mind, if
It's great.
Deshaun Watson is good, what if Kenny Pickett improves in year 2? They do got Tomlin over in Pittsburgh. Anything is possible, and I think Pittsburgh could potentially. Oh, I'm still on the wrong side of this. My bad. No, I am on the right side. Okay, so Pittsburgh, I'm saying, could take the place of a Cincinnati or a Baltimore. Same as Cleveland. I think that division's tough. And then on the NFC side of things, I just put the Giants down as well. I think they put too much money into the quarterback room. Will Saquon show up? Like, I don't really know.
He's showing up, but it might not matter this year, man. Like I
Mhm.
said, it's a tough slate. It's definitely gonna be a dogfight. Um, and then you got teams taking a step back. The thing is, right? I think the chain of command has changed as far as quarterback. In
Right.
NFC. You know what I mean? When you think of it, what I mean, if you was to do your rankings, or matter of fact, you don't even have to rank them. Who your top five quarterbacks in the NFC right now?
Hurts, Dak. That's just that division. AFC Gino. I'd probably put Gino in that list.
And I agree. That's the crazy part. So you said Hurts, Dak, Gino, what? Kirk Cousins, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, he wins.
It's not a lot. Maybe even Jerry Goff. What I mean, just to knock it, but it just goes to show you like it's all up in arms right now. Just losing to Brady for one, taking the Rodgers out of the picture. The AFC is going to be a dogfight, but I think the NFC. I think generally we kind of know who's going to be those top 4 or 5 teams. I would say, of course, Dallas, Philly, San Fran, and Detroit and Minnesota will be some tough teams. I think you'll see those at the top. And then I think from there, those, 6 to 7, whatever. I think it's going to be a battle for sure.
See, and then it even gets trickier to me because one thing Jimmy Garoppolo does is he does win, man. Like, and as bad as he is, like as inconsistent as he does win football games. So I mean, the AFC West is kind of up too. Sean
No,
Payton over to Denver.
I mean it's so tough, man. And I always tell a guy who, he always speak down on Jimmy G, and I said just be careful. I mean, I know he doesn't win the way you want him to. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's something to be said for a guy that just can come in there, do what the coach want him to be done, do what the coach wants to be done, and then obviously just follow the game flow. Sometimes
Right,
following the game flow is everything. Like it's so important. Like when Mike McCarthy, he had a quote earlier this year, and everybody just kind of took it around the wrong way. Where he was like, yeah, we had a top 5 offense, whatever, but I'm not so keen on just having that. I want to
right,
support this defense. So the numbers may not look the same, but I'm trying to win. He wasn't saying I'm just trying to have a worse offense. He was just saying, hey, sometimes it's not about scoring 40. It's about controlling the game. It's about controlling the
right,
clock. It's about not turning the ball over. It's about calling certain plays and doing what I want you to do in certain situations. So I think you got a guy like that. I don't think Derek Carr always played within what Josh McDaniels wanted him to do. And
sure.
Jimmy G would do that. Like you got Josh Jacobs over there.
And just to bring it to the NFC side, one that is kind of crazy. What if Jordan Love is a beast? Like, what if he does light it up? I mean, anything is possible over there too. Like Detroit historically is not a good football team. Maybe they don't restore the roar or whatever they say.
It happens there, yeah. It's
Right.
always that one team that's like, dang, like last year, like if we was to kind of just rewind and you seen all the offseason moves that was taking place, like I said, man, like we talked about them. I said, look, the Chargers is gonna be crazy, right?
Right.
Denver. I said, dang, they get a Russell Wilson over there. You know what I mean? You combine that with the defense they already had. Like I'm just thinking, hey man, like these teams are gonna take that leap, and both teams fell flat. And this year, like, don't be surprised if the Jets fall flat. Maybe what I mean, you never know. That's the beauty of this thing. That's the beauty of the NFL, man. So it's always a team, it's always a dark horse, and it's always a team that's overrated that takes a step back this year.
Right.
But generally I think we know who the Kings are this year. I think teams to beat for sure. I think it's the Chiefs. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that we did say last year, talking about a division, we both picked the
Right.
Chiefs to win that division. And I think once again, I think you got the favorite over there in Kansas City. And right now, no, I don't feel no wrong saying that Philly is a team to beat in the NFC right now. Until somebody knock them off that.